Hello! I was going to start it with a really strong good evening, and then the second everything started, I immediately forgot that. Hi! Hello, welcome back to LARP 101 Live. How are you all? There's more people than I expected, as always. I'll be taking questions as the evening goes on. I think we're going to be here for around 2-ish hours, so feel free to put any questions or comments in the chat. I will remind people, however, that anything inappropriate may result in you getting banned. So be nice, be friendly, and hopefully everything will be all right. So, good to see you too, John. Hi, Edith. Oh, so happy to see people. I say see people like I can see you, I can't. So, LARP 101, let's talk about LARP relationships, because it's Valentine's Day, or at least it was a few days ago, which naturally means that we should, enjoy a commercialized holiday that actually has no significant meaning to what it was originally about. But, fair enough. So I'm going to be talking to you about some of the friends I've made at LARP, some of the ways I've made friends at LARP, and I'm hopefully going to be answering any questions you have about meeting people and, making friends at LARP. Which I can see is already making people leave. So I think you're all regretting this very strongly. So while I wait for the people to actually appear and the chat to go ahead, I'm going to talk about some of the interesting ways that I have met people at LARP, and some of the interesting ways I've really bonded with people at LARP. So I'm going to start with a dear friend of mine, which is Tom, who is not here tonight and will probably regret me talking about them at all, but never mind. So the reason why I want to talk about Tom is because we had a really strong bonding moment over one LARP event, which ended up being a rather funny story. I had written a plotline for my players, and I had cast him in it as what we will affectionately call a environmental activist. Hi! I will stop various points to talk to people in the chat, so please forgive me. But yeah, I recruited him to be an environmental activist, where he decided to play a bunny, which we would later name Kevin, for no reason at all. He made it up on the spot when someone asked his name, and we thought that was hilarious. And essentially what his job was to do was to go around all the different camps on the site, and he was going to deliver letters that exploded, which led to some rather interesting times. And it was really, it was a really sort of fun. We went from camp to camp, and we handed the letters over to people, and the letter exploded as we walked away, and then people would chase down Kevin and interrogate him about the letters. And Tom was fantastic, because he pretended to know nothing about it, even though it was blatantly obvious he was the one that was doing it. And eventually he got jobbed by a bunch of players, and they stole the whole of his letters, and they all exploded in their faces, which he somehow walked away from, because they thought because he was caught in the blast that he was an innocent victim too, which meant their healers fixed him and led him away. And essentially let him go, which was a rather strange thing. And me and Tom had such a fun time with this. It was one of my favorite moments ever in LARP, because while I knew Tom and thought that they were absolutely amazing, it was a really good time for us to sort of spend together and talk about this weird thing that happened once at an event. And eventually culminated with us going to one of the camps, which is the camp that Tom was sleeping in at the time. And because we were like, do you want to go and, bomb your mates? And they were like, yeah, let's go and do that. So we ended up taking them to the camp, and I watched as they handed over the letter to the person on the gate, who started walking up the hill to where all of the camp were gathered around in a big circle. At which point I realized two things. One, the reason that everybody was around in that circle is essentially because they were mustering up, which was their evening meeting. And the second thing was that the person who had been handed the letter was my very good friend Tony, who I watched carry it all the way up the hill, stand in the middle of the group. They asked, has anybody got any other business? He went, I do. And that was the moment the letter exploded, and the entire meeting just went vroom down on the floor, which is probably one of the finest moments I've ever had at LARP. And this is a very strange thing to talk about when I'm talking about LARP relationships, and I am very acutely aware of that. But that is because one of the great things about LARP is you end up with these stories that recount why you became such good friends with people. And when me and Tom get together, we almost always bring this up because it was so funny and so awesome. And essentially that is what I want for all of you. I want you all to have fun times and make friends and have amazing stories that you can reminisce about for many years to come. So essentially that is what this stream is going to be about. So I want to hear some of your awesome stories as well. So if you want to pop them in the chat, that'd be great. Hi to new people coming to LARP. It's going to be really fun and really good. I'm hoping this chat's going to go fine. Fingers crossed. Yeah, so I do have other stories. So let me know if you want to have those. I'm going to have a drink for a second. If you do want to hear about other stories, that's fine. But I would kill for some questions now because we're already 7 minutes in and I'm already, you know, as nervous as I can be. By the way, if you watch my video on Monday, you're going to notice that I am in the same outfit and have the same hairstyle. I did not film, and the same earrings. You are not, you are completely correct. I, however, did not film that video today. It's just a rather strange coincidence. No questions. Have you all left? You can't have all left. It's terrible. All right, so I'm going to... do I have any tips or tricks for first-time intros? Yes, but it will sound a bit weird. Essentially, the best tip I have for introducing yourself at LARP is find someone you can be useful to. Go to them and word it in a way which makes it sound like you're kind of the answer to their problems. So if you know someone is, like, you know, going on an important diplomatic mission or all that, or something like that, it's really... do apologize. Don't know what happened there. I'm so sorry. It's a really sort of good idea to sort of go, if you know someone's going off like a diplomatic mission or something, and just like go up and say, hi, I'm Jess. I heard you need a bodyguard. And they may go, no. But it is a really good way of turning to people and getting involved, because essentially odds are they're going to go, yes, that would be great. I worded that really poorly, so but you understand what I'm hoping, sort of what I'm talking about. Essentially, yeah, find out how you can be of use to people and go and tell them so. Try not to do it in a, hi, I am the most useful person you've ever met. But yeah, just sort of go, hi, I heard you need this, I can do this. You know, make yourself useful. Always really simple and easy. Your daughter avoids you because your backstory is that you killed everyone with your cooking. Fair enough. That sounds like an amazing backstory. You'll have to tell me more. Why is your backstory that? Are you all undead? Like, what happened there? Do tell me. I want to know. So what was my first big relationship that made me realize, oh, yes, that'll be fun? I'm trying to think. So my very first LARP event was in 2012, 2013. One of the two. I've been doing this way too long. And I can't remember specifically what relationship it was, but I've got a feeling it was with one particular person, actually. And this is the person who I credit with making me enjoy the hobby immediately. And her name is Emma. And I wouldn't say we're brilliantly close, but she is a person that I admire greatly and have a lot of time and energy for. And when I went to my first LARP event, she was really instrumental in getting me involved with stuff really quickly. So I never actually felt at any point that I was standing around not knowing what to do, because she literally turned to me and went, okay, well, you can do this and you can come over there and these people help you out and everything will be fine. And it's always great when you have somebody like that at a LARP, someone who looks around going, you are new and have no idea what you're doing. I'm going to help you. So her getting me involved and her sending me off with people with stuff that she thought I would enjoy was a really big help. Let's see. Oh, hi, Mark. That's really nice of you to say. Thank you. I'm glad you're enjoying it. How do we manage relationships between players and NPCs? Depends what kind of NPC you mean. If you mean like a monster NPC, which essentially, is a plot device, that's kind of relatively easy to manage, because they come in, they do their plot, and then they essentially leave, and maybe they come back, maybe they won't. In terms of what you mean by NPCs who hang around, like people who run guilds or shops or, your factions, things that basically anyone who sort of is there to make sure that in game things function and run. I think the thing is it's really easy to manage good relationships between them if people simply remember that the NPCs are actually real people, which sounds obvious, but the amount of time I've been spoken to at a LARP by somebody who I'm fairly certain is confusing me for a video game character is quite impressive. I have had literally people come up to me and just literally first line they've ever said to me, never met them before, they've run up to me and just gone, I need this. Okay. And I actually had one time when someone did that to me, a player actually called them out and went, hi, it's good to introduce yourself to people before you ask them for stuff. Because, NPCs are people. It's kind of, I don't know how to come back. Ask me again in 20 minutes. I'll probably have a much better answer. I'm so sorry. Most emotional movement as a guild NPC. Oh, so many. I think I told the story on my last stream of the table flipping guild meeting of Doom with all the diplomats, and that's always a good one. Recent emotional one was that my friend John's character, John is actually in the chat, he'll say hi in a minute probably, was when his character died literally at the last event, mainly because I was out of character when it happened, but I was there. So I watched it, could see it going wrong, couldn't go and fix it. And then I had to go in character after it was all over. And then everyone came and told me about it. So I had to go through it twice. Oh God. And it was so emotional because I had to do it over and over again. Because then after that, I had to then go and tell his faction what had happened. Which they were quite shocked by, because literally, they had no idea. They were all around their campfire quite happily, and I had to go and go, by the way, Pack's dead. So that was fun. And then I had to go and relive it all over again when they insisted on going all the way back to the faction all the way back to the guilds to give him a funeral. So I had to go through that death 4 times in the space of 3.5 hours, which is emotionally very exhausting. But that was quite an emotional thing because, and John knows this, so I'm not ashamed to sort of say it on stream, but Pac was essentially my character's best friend. And I realized that a few years ago when I realized that essentially there was no one else in the world that I would talk to as much as him. So his death was quite heartbreaking for me. And then on top of that, obviously, I had to sort of, make sure John was okay out of character as well and make sure he was all right for the rest of the weekend. So yeah, that was emotionally a roller coaster. On the upside, everyone who had made fun of Pac early that weekend or the weekend before due to doing silly things felt really bad about it, and I felt great. Yeah, so hi Harry, you can join on a rando moment. No one minds, it's all fine. I am also going to keep hydrated because that's sensible. You're at Twin Mask, Edith. That makes so much sense. I need to go to Twin Mask. I need to go to America. It's on my list because Twin Mask seems awesome. Does alcohol count as a hydration because it's wet? No, John. No, it does not. Let's see. Do I have any advice for a brand new guild NPC? Bart, hi! Brand new advice for brand new NPC. Yeah, remember you are actually a real person, which sounds obvious, but people will start treating you like you're not. Do remember to drink, not just both alcohol and water, because you will need both. If you play it right, however, and you really make your players work for you, you may never have to buy alcohol again. Because I have not bought alcohol at LARP in a good few years. Because my players buy me booze, and I don't know why. It's a wonderful thing. The Netherlands, another place I haven't been to. Sorry, when I always look at the chat and see where all of you live, all I think is how how few places I've been in the world. And then at the same time, I'm like really well traveled because I've been to South America and New Zealand and Japan and all these places in Europe. I just haven't been to anywhere that you guys live. And I find that really upsetting. There's places to add onto a list. Yes, a lot of my relationships that I have sort of at LARP involve me often NPCing, which means I live to make all of my players happy, which is strange, because it makes me more more amenable. But is that the right word? I hope it's the right word. But yeah, they do poke. You're gonna have to get used to that. It's you'll be fine, Sarah. Don't worry. Bavaria. Oh, I'm so badly traveled. That is so cool. Right, I will have to semi-ignore all the countries in the chat because you're all making me feel really bad about myself for not having been to all these wonderful places that you live. Oh God. I mean, I am having sort of other LARP relationship sort of things going on. I'm about to go to the Wild Hunt LARP, which I have mentioned, I think, 1 billion times now, so you're probably all really sick of it. And I'm really looking forward to meeting a bunch of people there who I haven't met before. There's the Little LARPer. Go on Instagram, follow the Little LARPer. She's absolutely wonderful. She's going to be there. There's a bunch of other sort of people from LARPs who I know vaguely, and Jerusalem. I'm going to have to stop. Oh dear God, no. No, I've not been live streaming long. I think we've only been here about 20 minutes. If you mean in terms of live streaming in general, no. And I think that's apparent by how much I ramble and have no plan. But yeah, I'm going to the Wild Hunt LARP, and I'm going to hopefully meet Gina, the little LARPer. Hopefully see a bunch of friends I haven't seen in quite a while. And I'm hoping to make some new friends there as well to go to future LARPs with, which will be interesting. And the way I'm going to do that is hopefully by not annoying them too much, which we'll see how that goes, because I have developed my character to possibly be slightly irritating, which if you watch my video on Monday, you will understand why. So I'm going to tell you the story about a LARP friend of mine, because I think that's really fun. And the story involves John as well, so John will remember this story. It was a good one. John, do you remember the petrify chain? For the rest of you, in the one of the systems I play, there's a spell called petrify, which essentially slowly turns you to stone. John knows it very well because that's how John died. But previously, we were in a battle where I got petrified by something behind me. Never saw what it was. It whacked me with a big stick, went petrify, and I had to freeze like a statue where I was. And good advice for if you ever get petrified in this game, make sure you're in a great position so that essentially if you have to stand there for 10 minutes, you're comfortable. I do know people who like to go into dramatic poses for their statue and then regret it when they realize they have to stay that way. But yeah, so I got whacked in the back. I got petrified. Poor John came running to my rescue. Also got petrified. So then we were sort of standing there together, both slowly turning to stone. At which point, one of our other guild staff members, DPC specifically, which is a director-player character, but I won't explain that, came to save us as well. And that was the other John, who I will call Dusk because that's his character's name, also came to heal us both and also got petrified. And essentially all three of us were stood there slowly dying while the rest of the guild was standing over there just like... And that was the first time I ever got stuck with John for an extended period of time, thinking, well, we're going to die, aren't we, really? So, yeah. Yeah, we've had some good bonding moments, haven't we, John? It's been good times. Oh, was you? Oh, Dusk got there first. Oh, it doesn't matter. We were all three of us were petrified together. I don't know how we died. I didn't die there, to be honest. You know, if you ever want a really good, solid bonding moment, nearly die with someone, because you'll be firm friends after that. It's always a great way to do it. To, you know, have an emotional connection with someone is nearly become corpses together. I don't know. Is there more questions? Oh, no more USA people. Your country's so cool. Oh yeah, we got saved because our fellow people didn't want to be in charge, so they came back for us. Yes, trauma bonding. Trauma bonding is a great thing at LARP, as long as it's not real trauma. How do you make friends with other characters who already have friends? Oh, that's hard, isn't it? Because, you know, when especially like people come in with groups and, you know, they're all in matching gear and they all look cool together and they sit and do all their meals together. And yeah, that can be quite intimidating, especially if you've come by yourself. Feed them. Yeah, that's always a great way if you've got food. The thing that I always kind of work for me is you kind of have to find the opening. And there always is an opening. You think if there is no opening, then trust me, you don't want to be friends with those people. But there is always a slight gap where they need to make contact with the outside world. And that's usually if they want to actually get involved with, if they have slightly different interests. So for instance, one of the groups that I treasure most at one of the LARPs I go to was a group called the Free Blades, who had this amazing aesthetic of beautiful bright orange gear with this beautiful symbol on it, and they all looked absolutely amazing. But they literally all came together and en masse. I think at one point there was almost 20 of them. There was so many. And basically what I had to do to become friends with them is I had to wait for somebody to semi-break off from the group. And when I say break off, I don't mean they left the group, but I meant that they wanted something slightly off. And I think the person I made friends with first properly was probably a fairy called Abby, because Abby wanted to be a bodyguard for our queen, and I was the head of the bodyguards. So she actually approached me first wanting this job, and we became friends quite quickly through that, and then got to know some of the other Free Blades, and and that's actually how I met Tom from my story right at the beginning of this video. So yeah, you kind of have to wait for the weakness to appear, which is always going to be that they need someone to do something, or they want to do something for someone else, and you kind of have to sneak in there and go, yes, I can help, and that's how you'll become friends, hopefully. Because essentially, I always say this, LARP is a collaborative hobby. You can't do it without other people. So if you've got a group that is so tightly knit that they don't want to speak to anyone else other than each other, they're not going to get very far in most LARP games anyway. If you're going to a LARP on your own and you want to know how to make friends with people who are already in a group, odds are a lot of people will have probably come on their own when they first started LARP. And you can probably notice who those people are, mainly because they'll be wearing kit that looks like no other kit everyone else is wearing. Like a lot of LARP groups like to come with stuff that looks a bit similar or have similar symbols on to represent that they're all together. Look for essentially a lone wolf on their own, but not quite. That's probably not the right word. I'm trying to think of what I mean, not a lone wolf. Lone sheep came up for some reason. I don't know what I'm saying. Point is, look for somebody who doesn't match everybody else, but isn't, wandering around by themselves, and hopefully they'll sort of be a way in. Odds are, if you're brand new, people are going to be looking for you anyway. Because one thing I know about LARPers is they like to stitch up new people with responsibilities. If all else fails, feed them. Essentially, it sounds really stupid. When you're new at LARP and you're trying to make friends with people in general, and this works for groups too, the easiest way to do it is to either be really useful or be really entertaining. Or both. So if you've got like a specialist skill in the game through the game's mechanic system, if that's how your game works, that's a really good way to meet people, because people always need that kind of stuff. If that's not your thing, and there are no specialist skills in your game, try to be useful to others in terms of if you're able to fight, volunteer to bodyguard some people. You don't have to do it for money or anything, just to follow important people around and see what their games look like. Or you can volunteer to take notes for people, because trust me, people forget stuff. And note takers are always appreciated. Be useful. And if you can't be useful, be entertaining. If you can play like a musical instrument or something, that's really, really good, because people always love to hear that. Same if you can sing. But to be honest, you can probably just get away with things if you're quite funny. Don't be annoying funny, but if you are quite quick-witted and can make a good joke, making people laugh will carry you quite far. Sorry, I'm just looking at all the comments because there's loads of really large paragraphs. Yeah, introduce yourself to the loudest person in camp, because they're usually actually ironically very friendly people. So yeah, people will make sure you're all right. What about opening the box to make friends? Is there a box? What box? I don't know what you mean by a box. How would you garner, maintain political relationships, alliances, and the like? Political relationships suck. I hate them. This is why I hit people. Oh, boxes containing baddies. We'll come back to the box. Yeah, I hate political relationships. That's because I suck at politics, and that's why I play people who hit people with big sticks, like this beautiful ice axe that one of you mentioned a minute ago. Yes, it is lovely. It's from by Irregular Props. Have a look at them on Facebook because their work is beautiful. Yeah, political relationships suck. Best way you can really sort of do it is to, one, make sure that you're not upsetting people too much, and two, be ready to compromise, because at the end of the day, politicians are always looking out for themselves, and that works for LARP as it does for real life. Yeah, lie, fearmonger, and then lie some more. That's pretty much how politicians do it. In terms of alliances, it's always going to be a give and take thing. It's always going to be compromise. It's always going to essentially be, what can you do for me? What can I do for you? How do we make that work? I find political relationships should never be mixed with other kind of relationships, because trust me, then the water's muddy, and that's how you end up with flipping tables, shouting at each other, and me trying to desperately drink and eat so that I don't speak to you ever again. So, opening the box to make friends, as in the box containing the baddie. Well, I'm going to be really honest with you. I have a big issue with boxes. Really big issue with boxes. I actually have said the phrase to someone at a LARP event because we had this big horrible demon thing, and I heard somebody we were in a conversation together, but they weren't talking to me. They were talking to somebody else, sort of in the circle we were in, and they went, "We could just put it in a box." And I went off. I absolutely went off at them, and I literally went, "We can't put it in a box. It's completely ridiculous." You know those stories about ancient people who put things in boxes and then store them away for all eternity, only for us to come along and open them and then everything go wrong? If we seal it in a box, we are now the ancient people. We do not need to be the ancient people. The future won't thank us. Don't be the ancient people. And they looked at me as if I was insane. But I was right. I won that argument. We did not put it in a box. So yeah, things in boxes are not your friends. Putting things in boxes is terrible. Sorry, that's one of my two biggest rants at LARP. The other one's about trees, which you guys don't need to hear. You don't need to hear about trees. So other sort of fun things that happened at LARP, where I can tell you about my friend Alex, whose character also died at the last event I was at. She played a queen, and she was Queen Elspeth of the Lions, who live in sort of, a version of Atlantis. And she got essentially cursed by this evil fairy general, and she was doomed to die at midnight. And me and Alex have been friends for since I started LARP. She's really wonderful. So obviously, and her character was very close to mine as well, or at least I thought so. And so I went to her. I went to the camp sort of late at night before midnight to see her before she died. And there was an incident where I went with my husband Nick, who plays his character called Malcolm, and we went down together, and we were sort of sitting at camp and we were drinking, and he offered her a bottle of gin. Well, I say a bottle of gin, like a gin cocktail thing. It wasn't just like straight gin. That would be interesting. And she went, "Oh, I don't know, because I don't want to have a hangover tomorrow." At which point he went, "Well, that's not going to happen, is it?" Because she was doomed to die at midnight, so she wasn't going to have a hangover. At which point, our other friend Matt, who plays a character called Simba, turned around and went, "Who said that? Who said that?" And me, being the dutiful and loyal wife that I am, went, "It was him," pointing straight at Nick. It's like, him, he did it, he said it was his fault. And it grassed him up entirely, which made Alex laugh, which made Simba laugh, and which made Nick not cross. I think he laughed as well, to be honest, but it was hilarious. And that was quite a nice sort of fun moment with all of my friends as my friend was tragically dying. Oh, it's so sad. Oh, you want to know about the trees? Oh, trees. Okay, it's a really stupid thing. It's from like the 3rd or 4th year that I was LARPing, and I was sat in a conversation. I got sat down by some random dude, don't know who he was. He was going around all of the camps, and he was talking about the encounter trees. And I was already a little bit sick about trees at that point, because we'd had several plot lines all talking about trees. And he said to me, unprompted, "But if we get this sorted now, this will be the last war we ever have to fight about trees." Which I was okay with. I was like, yes, I'm on board. I never want to talk about trees again. So, and it got me invested. And I was like, right, okay, we'll go and do this war. We'll go and do the fight. It was great. We fought. We beat the bad guy. It was all wonderful. I went home, came back to the next event. Literally 7 months later, it was gone from like late summer to spring. And literally the first time someone came and spoke to me, other than people just sort of saying, "Hi, how are you?" was like, "I've come to talk to you about the trees of Avalon." And I literally went, "No, we do not talk about trees. I was told we don't have to talk about trees anymore. I was told the trees thing was solved." And I terrified that poor person. And to this day, if people come up to my character and talk to me about trees, I will absolutely go, "No, we do not speak of trees. There's no problem with trees. Trees is fine." And I will shut it down on principle. So there you go. That's the great secret about the trees. Trees and boxes. Trees and boxes are basically the thing that I draw the line at. We don't do either of that. Right. So yeah, that's my great story of trees and boxes. I have a list of things to talk about because, and I'm running out of things quick. I'm running out of LARP stories. Ask me questions and then I can have. Yeah, I knew it was you, John. I knew you were the person sending people to talk to me about trees. I'm not going to let your new character know about them. And if you try and bring your new character in to talk about trees, I'm going to straight up accuse you of metagaming. I've got a list. Like I said, what is my other story? Oh, the transport rite of weirdness. Oh, this was a bonding moment I had with people when I first started LARPing, because I think this event actually happened the very first year I ever was LARPing. And it was a really fun moment for me because it revealed to me that all of the people I knew in the faction who I thought were quite serious, like, role players, had a little bit more to them than that. So we were transporting off, just like they have like transport circles. So you stand in the circle, someone walks around you and casts a minute-long like ritual rite spell. And after the minute, you transport off and you go. And at the time, there wasn't a lot of limitations as to what you could say in these spells. And usually, it wasn't the first time I transported. So usually the people would start and go, "I begin this transport rite to take us to the great, city of Camelot, where we will go and fight the evil demon, and I will take us there through the void." It was very sort of serious and thing. And the person in question wasn't a mage or a magician or a sorcerer or whatever. He didn't have magic. What he had been given was essentially a magic belt to use as a transport right. So as his character didn't really do transport rights, he knew the basic sort of incantation was like, I begin this transport to take us to blah blah. I'm going to call it blah blah. But very quickly, his transport started to segue. And he was like, we're going to go through the void where nothing can go wrong and we won't be turned into badges. And hopefully we won't have our bums swapped with our faces. And I remember it very distinctly because I was just like, that's a bit strange and very rather amusing. And very suddenly, I just watched all the people around just starting to shake. And it's because they were all trying so hard not to laugh. And it was a really sweet, kind of relaxing moment for me because I didn't really think that the people around me were like that. They all came off as very serious and very, so to see them all laughing about something really silly was quite enjoyable. Have I had any relationships, friends and family that have changed as an effect of LARP? Kind of, actually. I don't know really. So like, as I sort of delved further into LARP, I think I lost friends, but I lost sort of interest with. I didn't lose interest. That's not the right way of saying it. I had less in common with friends that I had outside of LARP. And that didn't mean that we're not friends and I don't still love them very much and they don't still love me. It's just life diverges, and that's just sort of a natural kind of thing. One thing I'll say LARP did give me a really interesting look on my parents. Because my parents are wonderful, wonderful people who I love very much. And I used to not really talk about LARP with them very much when I first started because it was very weird for them to have their daughter sort of, going off and playing pretend in a field with a load of friends. And so I think I didn't want to sort of seem like I was being quite childish to them, and I didn't want to sort of force that hobby onto them too much. But then my mum started asking me about it. And I'm not saying that my mum wants to go with me, because I know she doesn't, but the fact that my mum really showed an interest in LARP, or at least showed a polite interest in LARP. I know she's actually really interested. But it made me feel like I didn't have to hide it from my parents, which sounds really stupid because I probably never had to in the first place. But it's always nice to sort of have that reconfirmation that the people you love accept you as you are. Because, it's just how it is. So yeah, I would say that something sort of has changed as the effect of LARP, but that could just be life as well. It's kind of hard to tell. How should a long-time player try and go about welcoming new players and their characters in game? Just sending them on quests? No, I would not ever personally just send new players off on quests, and not because new players aren't capable of doing quests. I just think it almost comes off as almost slightly dismissive. And essentially you're saying, right, you're new, brilliant, go do a thing. Where I feel like it would be much more productive to go, let's go do a thing together. And especially if they're new, they kind of need to shine a little bit. Make sure that they know what they're doing. Make sure they know that they can be useful, and essentially go and show them they can be heroes. Because, that's cool. And they'll remember that far more than the time that, they got sent off on a quest, never to return. Hang on 1 second. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so I would never just send newbies off on quests. I would always take them on quests. I would always make sure that they are going to go off and be heroes with me. So it's, at the very least, so I can come back and tell people how epic they are. Because, you know, when you're brand new and you're quite nervous, sometimes that ego boost is really helpful. So yeah, take the hobbits to Isengard. Throw them in a little bit. I'd also with new people, when you're you're meeting new people and you want them to get involved in your game, try and find out as much about them and their character as they can. Which does mean it might be an idea to ask them a little bit about their backstory if you need a conversation starter. Which I know is a controversial thing when it comes to backstories, because no one wants to hear yours. But when you're brand new and you know you've worked really hard on your first LARP character, it kind of does help if someone shows a little bit of interest in that character and who they are. And eventually they'll learn as well that no one really cares. Which sounds disheartening, but if you can just, you know, show a little bit of interest in who their character is and why their character's there, and make that little bit of effort, it will always go better than just dismissing them out of hand. Get involved with their character, and that will make them feel more welcome, and they'll also remember you as being a person who makes them feel great about being at LARP, which is, you know, always a plus. I got to help make someone's events over the last couple of events. We had an under 16 player start playing with our guild, and I became very determined to make sure that he knew we were the best guild ever and that he was going to have so much fun with us. So I threw a lot of sort of stuff at him, and we got him involved with us. And we got a public message on Facebook telling us how much fun he had with all of us and how much he was looking forward to coming back and playing with us. And it was great. So yeah, always get stuck in and get people involved, because you always want to be that person to make their event. It always feels great. Let's see. Doomed to being the local mum and taking care of everyone. I have no issue with that. I consider myself a LARP mum. When I finally retire from NPCing, my plan is to go into camp and just cook food for everybody, because that's my retirement plan. What is your opinion about playing good alignment characters and how to play one? Good alignment players are fun because everyone hates them, right? Why does everyone hate good guys at LARP? I feel like so many people want to play bad guys or anti-heroes, and I find that really sort of sad. I play good alignment characters because I'm a wuss. And when I say a wuss, I don't mean that I'm cowardly. What I mean is essentially I play video games, and I've yet to play through bad sort of, evil deeds. Like in Fable or in like Knights of the Old Republic, you can end up being the evil hero, or essentially a Sith. And I've never been able to do it because the second they ask you to do the bad thing, my thought is, but I'll feel so guilty. So I can't do it. And it's the same at LARP. I don't think I'll ever be able to play an evil character. I don't think I'll even be able to play a neutral character, because my first and only instinct is to try and save the world and keep everyone happy and make sure things are fine. I don't play like a lawful good person, because I am far too chaotic on my own to do that. I usually play a neutral good or a chaotic good. Basically, the easiest way to play him is essentially to ignore any instinct you have of screwing people over. I don't know. It's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to sort of say how to play a good alignment character, because you've got, like I say, lawful good, which are, usually sort of quite serious paladin-like people. It's like all shining and, everything's fine and we must do what's right for people. So I'm just going to scroll up so I don't lose the next question because it's a good one. I can't scroll up. Okay, that's fine. I'm just going to remember about the romantic plot. And then you got neutral good, who are kind of a bit of the boring good guys, which is me essentially. And then you've got the chaotic good, which I think is the good everyone wants to be, where it's essentially running around going, killing these people is a good idea because at the end of the day, whatever. I don't know. It's hard to play a good character because evil is fun, apparently. Basically, I think the best way to play a good character is basically if people are being dicks, don't be afraid to tell them no. And you don't have to be like, we must stick with, because it's righteous and everything. You can literally just go, stop being a dick. You don't have to be an asshole. I don't mean you have to swear at them, but like, it's just like, if you're going to be a good guy, you have to be brave enough to call out the bad guys, and that's just how it's got to be. Sorry, that was probably not helpful. I'm very sorry. What's the most romantic plot I've ever witnessed? Other than my own? No, it wasn't that romantic, really. The love story I've played out through one of my LARP characters essentially was that I didn't have an in-character reason to spend time with my husband. So we created a romantic relationship. So essentially I had a reason to walk off with him and go get ice cream. So that's not that romantic. I don't know, to be honest. Romance plots often feel quite sort of personal to other people, so it's kind of hard to watch. I mean, I've seen characters get married in character and all that sort of thing. I did see one rather sweet romance. Who was it? Oh, it came into my head and then it left. I think the one that was quite sweet was probably between a character called Callio and Simba, who I described before. And I say romantic because it also ended really tragically as well. I remember them sort of like when they first started their relationship, and then the romance kind of escalated a bit. And I remember when they declared their characters moved in together, and then they started a family, and then they had all these children. And then Callio died really tragically. And then just recently, all of their children died too. So that's probably not actually that romantic. That's quite tragic, but you have to kind of see it to sort of see, like, it's very Shakespearean. So I don't know. That's probably the most romantic one I have seen, though, because that was quite that went over the course of several years, and I'll remember it fondly long after I stopped playing LARP, to be honest. Hope you're enjoying your dinner. It's nice. I'm glad you managed to join. Asking people weird questions. That's always a good way to meet friends. It's also a great way of establishing to people who you are and whether you want to be insane. Do proposals count? Seen both in-game and out-of-game proposal at events, as have I. I don't know if that's rather romantic, to be honest. I mean, that sounds really cynical. I'm sure it is. When it comes to proposals, it's pretty much, if it's romantic to the individuals involved, then that's all fine. Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I'm wussing out. My romantic relationships have LARP pretty much total to my husband. And that is because I use it as a tool to actually spend time with him. Because we play very different games. I'm often the stabby die monster person, and he's often the let's go and look at plot and everything is interesting and I'm going to go and make weird things, and it doesn't overlap very much. So sort of that's interesting. Have I ever had an outside emergency work towards LARPing, like toilets flooding, rainstorm? really myself. Actually, that's not true. To be honest, I've heard stories. I've seen a few things. So the story I'll give one vaguely interesting story I have was just when a LARP event that I couldn't get a ticket to. It snowed really heavily, which I was gutted to miss because I will LARP in snow any day. But it snowed so much that one of the tents that someone was in, the snow piled on top of their tent so much that it snaps the solid wooden pole that was holding up because it was a bell tent. And the poor gentleman inside who was sleeping had a rude awakening when the entirety of the canvas, combined with the heavy weight of snow that was on top of the tent, slammed down on top of him with a great crack. Outside emergency towards LARP, I think that will always be the time that a tent ended up in a lake. And I say the time that a tent ended up on a lake. There have been several incidents where tents end up in lakes due to heavy wind. So yeah, always use your guy ropes. Because I LARP in the UK. Weather is variable here. We've just had a rather massive storm just hit us yesterday. And sometimes that hits during LARP events. And we've gotten up in the morning after the winds have raged all night, and somebody's tent has just escaped and ended up in the local lake. And people have had to go and fish it out, our poor security team and our maintenance team. And usually it's just like a group tent, like an awning or a gazebo, maybe if someone's bought one of those, and that usually goes. One occasion it has actually been a proper tent, which whipped off of a person. Thankfully, somehow left them behind, but took several bits of their gear with them into the lake. So I think the guy's bag went in, and fortunately not a sleeping bag, but like some of his clothes, and they all just ended up in the lake because it was all whipped away in the wind. So yeah. Toilets flooding, no, because maintenance team are amazing, so that's never happened. Rainstorms, yeah, that happens pretty often, but it's Britain, so we all, we cope with the rain's expected. We all come prepared for wet weather. Yeah, the wind's been for sort of big ones. This is where we come from in Lockyer Park. Lockyer Park is kind of a unique place in the UK because it's kind of in a bit of a valley dip, which means that you can watch weather kind of circulate around it and never come to it. I watched literally from the park 2 thunderstorms on either side of the park come around and collide over the city Derby in the distance. And it never rained on us once. So, weather is a bit of a weird thing. I'm trying to think if there are any other incidents where crazy stuff happened at LARP because of like weather or just natural disasters. I don't think so. I mean, it has rained so much that some tents have got flooded, and sometimes it gets so cold, especially sort of in May time, where people get sent to first aid because they have a heat box in first aid, which is essentially just a little tent with a heater in it, and they give you foil blankets and essentially get your body heat back up. And I only end up in those at least once a year. There was the time I concussed myself on a first aid tent, and and that was fun. I'd gone to do the setup. I'd gone to help set up the event. We put up the first aid tent, and I knew things weren't going well when one of the other volunteers smacked one of the tent pegs, like these big full-on like heavy steel tent pegs, down so hard that the top of the tent peg cracked off, flew up in the air. Oh, phone, shush, I forgot to put my phone on silent. Very sorry about that. And that cracked me in the collarbone. Didn't break anything, but that hurt. And I thought that was going to be the extent of my bad luck. And then literally 3 minutes later, I was pegging something in on the floor, stood up and whacked my head on the beams. And successfully concussed myself and ended up in hospital. and wasn't able to fight for the rest of the event, which I was very upset by. So disasters at LARP events, yeah, there are a few. I feel like I had something else to say. Am I really excited for LARP season to start? Always. I'm always excited for LARP season. Like I literally, as LARP season ends, all I start thinking about is the next one. It's all I ever do. And that's probably not healthy. But it was made worse during the pandemic and everything closed. And then I started a YouTube channel, and long story short, now we're here. With subscribers slowly creeping up. And I'm hoping to be shortlisted for a LARP award. Oh, the Legends of Flat Ground. Oh, I'll talk about the Legend of Flat Ground in a minute because it is the best thing. But yeah, long story short, I am looking forward to LARP season because it is my entire life, and I love to talk about what I do at LARP. I love to talk about getting into LARP. I love talking about different LARP events I'm going to, which is why I have a YouTube channel. Really looking forward to the Lorien Trust events this year, though, because it's going to be really interesting. And because I'm staff, I get to go to PlotCon literally next weekend, which is when all the plot teams go together and we talk about the plot for the year. And I'm not going to tell you anything about it because I don't want to spoil anything. But I love going to PlotCon because I love all the different storylines we have running at LARP. So yeah, you're marrying LT this year. Invite me. Find me in the guilds. You don't have to know me ahead of time. Just invite me to your LARP wedding because I love a good wedding in a LARP field. It's great. I'll drag a load of rangers with me. We'll come and crash. It'll be fun. So yay. The Legends of Flat Ground. So if you've ever been to the Lorien Trust, or if you've not, there is an alchemist guild, of which my husband is a member of the staff team. And there was an incident a few years ago where Ishtar, who was the Grandmaster of the guild at the time, had a slight issue where he just fell over in the middle of the field for no apparent reason and injured himself enough that he was limping around for the rest of the event. And to this day, he insists that it was just the flat ground that got him because there was no like holes or things for him to trip over. Literally, he just landed on his foot the wrong way and went over. But what made it funnier at the time is that for some reason people because he was shouting really loudly, and he kind of was prone on the floor. People thought he was praying to an ancestor or something, so they just left him. They just left him then, him shouting, and what he was doing was he was screaming in pain. I wasn't there. I wasn't one of these people, but he told me about it the next day, and he was so upset. It's quite funny in hindsight. But the reason why it perpetuated is not because of that incident. It's because that same weekend, after the gathering, for LARPers for the Lorien Trust, if you aren't aware of this, the staff hold a party at the end of the gathering on the Monday night. So essentially, we send all of you lot home. We go into the ritual circle tent, and we put on like loud music and drink all night. It's a good thing I've just whacked the table with my laptop on, so I'm very sorry. So if you're not aware of that, yeah, we do that. And so the same event that poor Fozzie damaged himself. Me and all my friends went down to the staff party, including the other Alchemist Guild Master, Tony, who I mentioned before in the story with the letter, and he went up, yeah. And, he was in the circle and, moshing away to the thing, where suddenly he just fell over and he sprained his ankle. And there was nothing in the circle. There was no holes, nothing to trip over. He just landed wrong and sprained his ankle. And long story short, that's where the legend of the flat ground curse comes from, because it didn't just take out one alchemist master, it took out two. And my husband keeps making fun of it, and I keep reminding him that as an alchemist grandmaster, it's going to get him. And he keeps tempting fate. But, just keep an eye on it if you're at LT, because it will get him eventually. That flat ground really hates alchemists. No. Flat ground is not a guild, because there's only one flat ground. It exists all over the world, but there's only one flat ground. So yeah, that's the long story short of the weirdness of flat ground. Another great load of stories to remind me of my friends. I don't know. I've been here for over an hour and I've just been talking nonsense. Yeah, it's always very good. So in LARP, should we always ask someone praying if they're truly praying, or if they need help before leaving? Well, one key factor to know whether someone's praying or if they are in pain is to check to see if they're swearing, because apparently Fozzie was screaming bloody murder. And was swearing rather profusely, but apparently people just didn't realise. So always check to see if there's a load of swear words in there, because that might give you a clue. I mean, you can take a best guess. But what a weird question that is at the bottom. I mean, I don't even know how to respond to that one, so I'm just gonna not. Right. Okay, that's gonna be a bit weird. I'm just to give you other executive powers here, if that's okay. No, not you. John, if you could just kind of monitor the chat and just make sure people are being a bit strange, it's fine. Yeah. Do you mean like American pants, or are you? Right, there we go. Okay, because that was a very strange question. Because in case you're not aware of British terminology, pants is referencing underwear, and so yeah, you threw us all with that one. So it is kind of hard to find trousers for women. I'll be honest with you. Sometimes I just wear leggings because because they're just really easy, and it's very don't apologize, that just threw us entirely. And while the British people were like, so yeah, I often wear leggings because they're quite cheap. If I want some actual proper trousers, I often, like Epic Armory actually have some that fit me quite well, because a lot of them are generally like drawstring and have large waistbands, so you can just pull it in and fit on you. Berkshire is great for trousers and have a specific range for women, and I think they go up a decent number of sizes as well. So yeah, I would recommend them quite heavily. I need to go and get some more actually, because I am mostly out of LARP trousers actually. But yeah, it is a lot easier to find skirts and dresses than it is for trousers. But yeah, Epic Armory or Bergschneider I would always recommend for trousers, because the quality is good. They look quite nice. And they have them in lots of sizes, which are great for women. And they do make, Berkshire especially do make one specifically for women. What that means, I don't know, but they do have trousers in their women's range. Have I ever had to choose between armor or being comfortable? Yeah, because it's rather hard to always be comfortable in armor. But I tend to try and get armor that fits me quite well. Because I do like being comfortable. I'll be honest with you, I do cheat in many ways. So I have this like really great leather kind of corset thing, which is quite thick and dense and is it's you can like tap it. It's such thick leather and it's really stiff. So it is pretty much armor. But it's not greatly comfortable to wear, or at least it wasn't. So what I did was I took out all the sort of leather thongs that hold it together, and I'll confess I swapped them out for elastic. So essentially, what I could do was essentially pull it, slip it on over my head, and put it on, and just like it would just hold naturally to my waistline because of the elastic. And that was far more comfortable than having all these tight sort of leather thonging holding it together. So what do I have to choose between armor or being comfortable? Yes, but I do cheat a lot. I did actually just buy some armor from Darkblade LARP. If you don't know who they are a UK leatherwork distributor. So distributor, crafter, because they make all their stuff. Yes, elastic is cheating, but you know what it was? So comfortable. And nobody has ever commented on it. So they either didn't notice, didn't care, or were too ashamed to ever speak to me. So, nothing was lost. But yeah, if you're ever looking for a good LARP leather armor in the UK, do go to Darkblade, because they are fantastic. And I specifically requested, because Tim, who is one of their primary crafters, is awesome. And I contacted him and I was like, so you have this armor on your website. Any chance you could do it in white for me? At which point he came back to me and went, I have some white leather left over from like some work I did on a sofa a while back. What measurements do you have? So see if it roughly fits. And I told him, and he was like, yeah, we can do that. So I recently bought some armor in white leather because I'm practical from them. And I've tried it on, and it is so comfortable. So comfortable because it's suited for a women's body, so it accommodates boobs. And it's in a size that fits me well, and I'm going to take some pictures in it very soon because essentially every year I buy a new kit for my Lorien Trust character because apparently I just like to burn money, and I'm going to take some pictures of it because it looks really cool. Looks really, really cool. So yeah, there's always sort of compromises. What's my favorite LARP shop? This varies a lot. My favorite LARP shop varies because it depends on what I'm sort of looking for at the time. My two staples are probably at the moment Darkblade LARP, because their leather crafting is so on point. You can not only just buy, I'm going to say they're generic stuff, and it's not generic because it's all beautiful. But they sell a lot of it. So they have like standard pouches that they make and standard belts that they make and all this sort of other stuff. And it's all beautiful work and beautiful leather and it looks great. But if you're really nice to them and you sort of get in touch and sort of see if you've got, I've kicked the table again. I'm very sorry. I fidget, so you have to forgive me. Because I've gone to them a couple of times and sort of gone, I'm looking for this weird custom thing. Are you okay sort of doing it? And that includes the armor I just ordered and my boot covers, which I wear for pretty much every lot now because they look amazing. And the reason I ordered those from Darkblade was because I saw them take a picture of some that they've made on their Instagram. And I have giant chunky legs because apparently the way my body distributes fat is it all ends up on my legs. Or not all, but a decent proportion. So my legs are quite abnormally chunky, which means I never find boot covers that fit. So I asked them to make some custom for me and they fit beautifully. and it's really up to my game just being able to have that. So a Dark Blade LARP I will always recommend, if anything, just because they are so accommodating when you need them to be. And the other one is going to be Irregular Props at the moment, just because they make beautiful, beautiful weaponry. I always show these on screen, but look at them. They're gorgeous. It's beautifully painted. It's really, really sort of secure, and it's not too expensive either. Can't remember how much this cost me. I want to say probably about 75 quid, which is probably more than most, but for the artwork and the design and the quality, it's fantastic. So I would absolutely recommend I would absolutely recommend Dark Blade LARP. I would recommend Irregular Props. Berg Schneider are great if you're looking for basic LARP kit. Trying to think at the moment. I went to LARPCon in October to go shopping, and I looked at all of the things. McSkelly Leathers, they're another one. Their stuff is beautiful. And I went to all these different stalls, and the only two that really keep standing out in my head was Fudge It, the store that was selling fudge, and the guy who was selling Viking mead at the other end, of which I bought a bottle because it was divine. And very acutely aware that neither of these are necessary for LARP. You do not need mead and you do not need fudge, but they're the only ones I can remember because the fudge and the mead were so good. Those are the ones I recommend. I do like sort of other sort of brands like, Epic Armory and Mythlon, but I always really like those like small independent businesses that, make amazing things, because that's really cool. And there are some amazingly talented people out in the LARP world, and they should be praised. My friend Cassie also has leather work. She has Mischief Leathers on Facebook. Look her up because her work is absolutely beautiful. She's exceptionally talented. And my friend Sammy as well, who is Nightingale Seams on Facebook as well. It's just also beautiful. Support independent LARP manufacturers, because they're all, so many of them will spend so much time perfecting their craft, and they are absolutely great. So many people. LARP Box. No, it's not LARP Box. I love LARP Box. But surprise sort of varies. I need to get the latest one actually in a moment, because I really want the Clerics one. I'm hoping Rangers come around again, because they did it a few years ago and haven't done it for a while. I really want a Rangers box, so we'll see. But I am going to be doing another LARP box unboxing video in the next few months, because I haven't done one in a while. This box I really like the look of, so fingers crossed. I have seen the dwarf outfit for McSkelly Leathers. It's absolutely brilliant. He's got like these boots that cover part of his leg, so it looks like he's kind of walking on like silts, I think are made of tires or something like that. I don't know what it is, but essentially it makes his costume is made to make his character look like he's wearing on stilts. He does actually look like a dwarf who's just walking around and stuff. It's really cool. I think he has a brother who makes latex props as well. They're absolutely bad. Barrels, thank you. Couldn't remember. Yes, McSkelly Leathers. They're absolutely fantastic. Right. I'm trying to think now. Oh no, may have to come sort of an end. You've got so many really cool things. Monster Menagerie is really good. Monster Minx on Etsy I'll always recommend as well, because she's fantastic at making loads of stuff from resin, loads of stuff from latex as well. I think she's working on some beautiful orc masks, which I think are for some people at Empire, which is another LARP I need to go to. Yeah. Anyway, So many LARPs I need to go to at the moment. I keep seeing adverts for LARPs I need to attend. Like Second Breakfast still keeps coming up. One for a wizard school came up the other day, which I really wanted to go to. Yeah, Empire always pops up. I could sit here forever and talk about LARPs I want to go to, so let's not do that again. Right. As I'm running out of things to say, and it looks like you're running out of questions, we may have to end it soon, because otherwise you're just going to have another 40 minutes of me sitting here, the camera going, yeah. And that's not what anyone wants, really. So, you're going to start asking questions now, are you, John? All right. Have I ever had a sworn enemy relationship with another player / NPC? When you say sworn enemy, do they have to know about it? Because if the answer is no, then absolutely yes. Yeah, there's a few characters that my characters have generally not liked very much. It's really hard. It's great when you've got a person and you agree. You're like, yeah, we're going to be sworn enemies, and like, yeah, we'll be rivals. That whole Midoriya Bakugo thing that they have in My Hero Academia. I've never had that. Have I had people that I look at and have actually whispered behind their backs, "I'm going to see you die"? Yes, 100% I have, and I don't know if they knew. They know that I'm planning to kill them. I think they do, because I don't think I have been brilliantly subtle about it. If I do get around to it, it's going to be interesting roleplay, because a lot of my friends like them, and I'm going to be very upset if they die. But at the same time, I want them dead. I don't think I'll ever get around to it. It's really quite difficult to kill people off. And I do like play, and like I said, I struggle to make evil decisions. So they'll probably end up living. But I have actually stood behind someone and under my breath said, "I'm going to watch you die." And I did mean it when I said it as well, because they are absolutely a sworn enemy of mine. Strangest prop I've ever used. I mean, there is a cuddly falcon I have. Falcon, goshawk, tomato. There is a cuddly falcon I had, and I brought it as a prop for essentially set decoration, and it kind of went a bit mental, because all the players just decided to name it Fernando, and semi have a backstory about it, and other players started threatening to steal it and ransom it back to us, which I did not have the energy for, so I cable tied it down. But yeah, that was really sort of strange, because it was literally just a very simple prop that I brought, just literally to background decor, and it just escalated really randomly. Other strange props. I don't think it's really strange. I have dealt with a puzzle box with like a billion keys before. That was really weird. Yeah, I would definitely say that Fernando is by far the weirdest thing that's ever happened to me with a prop at LARP. Just because people went a bit mental with it. As you can see from John in the chat now going, all hell Fernando. Seriously, it was a very strange weekend. And fortunately, they're kind of actually now banned, so have they banned props like that? I don't know. Either way, Fernando's not coming back. Have I ever had a roleplay moment where I realised my IC assessment with someone was completely wrong, like a betrayal or a changed opinion on a previous enemy? No. No. And that's, I'll be honest with you, so I think it's because my characters end up being rather judgmental and make very snapshot decisions. Kind of actually, to be the person who there is a person who OC, I would say OC out character. I would say that I love this person very deeply and have all the time for them in the world. And we were very good friends in character, and then they made some choices in the game that resulted in essentially the sundering of my faction. And I've never quite looked at them the same way since. At least in character, out character is fine, but in character, I think my character's always looked at them and just gone, "You kind of betrayed us a bit, really, there." And that's probably not a fair. That's probably not a fair comparison. If you think of it from an objective point of view, what they did was quite justified. But from the perspective my character had and the relationships with the people I had in that faction, yeah, my in-character opinion of them changed. And that's just roleplay. That was great roleplay. It's still one of that sundering of my faction is still one of the most interesting things that I think has ever happened in a roleplay game for me. Best prop I've ever used. Oh God, I don't remember. My brain's gone completely blank. If you end up using so many weird props as you sort of go along. Best prop I've ever used. Well, this probably doesn't technically count as a prop, but it did lead to some rather fun roleplay. One of the events I went to last year is not Fernando, John. One of the events I went to last year was set some form of, I don't know if it was like a grove or like a thing like that, but it had like these pillars, and each pillar was like magically attuned to one of the seasons. So there was a spring pillar, and there was a summer pillar, and there was an autumn pillar, and there was a winter pillar. And I play an ice elemental, and I'm obsessed with it, with snow and ice and stuff. So when I heard about this winter pillar, I was like, I'm going to see it. And I went down, and it was cool. It was like a big sort of white column, and it had been decorated with these beautiful blue lights. And one of the referee teams was there, and he saw me coming and decided to have a bit of fun with me. And I was just like, yes, this pillar is here. It's for me. It wasn't there for me. It's just, I'm obsessed. And so I kind of started just like and he was like, it feels cold to you and you feel the chill of winter. And I was like, yes, coldness. It's great. At which point, and I don't know how he did this, but he turned on the snow machine that was hidden at the top. At which point, foam snow started going everywhere. And I thought it was amazing. I think I squealed. I think I freaked out a bunch of people around me who weren't expecting me to make that noise. And I just ended up walking around it going, snow, snow. It was great. Best prop anyone can use with me is always going to be a snow machine. If snow machines appear, I'm gonna be all over that. I didn't even know they had a snow machine. Yeah, it was a good day. And what made it even more fun was I went round the back of the pillar to enjoy the snow, came out, and a monster had appeared, and I have no idea where this person was, but they just seemed to have appeared from nowhere, which made the whole incident far more magical. And he was to do with the winter pillar, and I ended up having a conversation with him that ended up being the entire plot of the weekend. And we had to kind of, distribute the plot out to the players because we were the only people who knew. It was a good day. It was a good day. I got snow machine. I got plot. Considering I had been on a walking stick that entire weekend due to a massive health problem. Yeah, I mean my weekend. So yeah, and I was very, very pleased. Yes, praise the ice prison. It was a good time. Yeah, so definitely the best prop I've ever used at LARP. Yeah. So before we run away, because I think we're almost at the end of our conversation, does anyone else have any actual questions about LARP relationships? Because if not, we can start timing ourselves away. And we can start thinking about what we're going to be talking about in March. And I think for March, what we should probably talk about, because it's getting quite close to the LARP season, at least here in the UK. I mean, all of you lot in Bavaria and Jerusalem and the US, your LARP seasons may have started or ended already. But I think we should start talking about LARP prep. So getting our gear together, getting our tents, if you're in a tent, together, making sure that you've, cleaned off your boots, waterproofed everything down, and you're ready to go. So does that sound great to everybody? We can talk about LARP prep. Yeah? LARP prep? Excellent, Edith. You can tell us about how you prepped for LARP in March. That'll be brilliant, and hopefully you'll have lots of fun. So, yes. Okay, so March live stream, we are going to talk about LARP prep. And, yep, I can happily give you tent tips because I can talk about tents for days. So, right. I'll let you know when that stream is going to be up. I'll announce it on the community sort of posts on my channel. I'm going to sign off now. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I have had so much fun chatting with you all, as always. I'm going to sign it off in the sad little way I always do. Please stay safe. Please stay healthy, especially in the weird weather we're having in the UK at the moment. And see you on a battlefield soon. Bye.